Glow was born in 1996 in Gibraltar by Mark Brooks and Corey Alman. After a few months, Michael Danino was invited to join them after Mark had worked on earlier projects with Michael and knew of his talent. Michael accepted straight away, and after recording various demos, it was time to look out for a frontman. Michael had seen this young, energetic and powerful voice in a variety show and suggested the band should ask him to join this new project. Lawrence Imossi joined and the lineup was complete, and officially, Glow was born. Glow made a lot of friends locally and in Spain through touring, and at their peak were performing 200 shows a year, hitting the road at the slightest chance. The band thrived on touring, and performing live was their calling. Fans today still remember and talk about the band's live performances where there were no holds barred. Interacting with the audience and always giving it all on stage for their fans. Glow became the main act at a local live venue, performing 3 times a week, and from the first gig at the club, history was made. Night after night the club was packed to capacity with fans, friends, enemies and the odd drunk that used to stumble into the club and left becoming a fan. Their momentum was stalled only by the sad and tragic death of Glow's talented guitarist and longtime friend Michael Danino in 2001. Something you may not know, Corey and Mark already were demoing and recording a couple of songs prior to Glow. In order to add guitars, at the time, Michael Danino was asked to join Corey and Mark, and that was Glow's beginning.
Glow started in 1997. Corey and myself were in a previous band called No Man's Land. We just finished a tour in Spain and we had troubles with that band and we disbanded. So after a few months, I called up Corey again to start a new project, and that's the beginning of Glow. We started demoing, recording tapes. We had like 10 songs, and we needed a guitarist. So I used to work with Michael, so I called him up, and he came down to the room. He was going to be able to do session work, but at the end he decided to stay, and he started recording with us. Once we had finished all the demos, we needed a singer. I had an issue with that due to the fact that we couldn't find anybody. So started searching, I couldn't find anybody, Corey couldn't find anybody, and Michael saw Lawrence it was a karaoke. And he contacted Lawrence
in Campe. Yeah, I remember I was at work and I got a call from Corey saying that they were. I remember because my brother answered and Corey asked him if he wanted to join the band, and he thought he got the wrong guy, so he put me on the phone, and Corey said that they needed a singer. They were with Michael and Mark, and I knew them from No Man's Land and all that as well, and I thought it sounded like a good idea. So we took it from there. We started rehearsing, we started playing the songs that they had already. In fact, there were some songs, I remember Cero Grado, something like that.
Yeah, that's the first name of the band.
The name we started as Cero Grado,
Yeah.
and we had some Spanish songs. So they already had some Spanish songs that they had a previous Spanish singer with, and we tried them, and then we just started, as it goes, writing our own music, and then I think we started getting gigs, or we agreed a gig with Sax. In those days, the Sax was the place everybody went to, because after Irish Town there was nowhere to go, there was no Casemates, there was no Ocean Village, and we got a gig in Sax, and we managed to play there every Friday night and Wednesday night in summer and Easter and Christmas, and we did that for a few years, which was good fun. And we used to play mostly covers, but we also used to play a couple of our songs that we wrote, like Crazy, that went down really well with everybody, and quite good fun to dance and sing to. And that was it.
How the name came up. The thing is, in the 90s there was a band called Reef.
Yeah.
British band, and I think the third album was called Glow. And
the way it was designed, it looked like the name of the band was Glow. It looked quite cool.
And we got the name. Well, we stole the name from that album, from the Reef album called Glow.
Paolo Olmeto, former manager of Sax 2, who introduced Glow to perform there on a weekly basis, and somehow opened the box of Pandora.
I used to be a manager of Sax 2 before 2000. I met the group for my first time before the 2000, which they started to play for Sax 2 in the 1996, 1997. My first approach with the group was one night they came down to Sax for a meeting with someone else, I can't remember his name. and this guy came to me and he lent us a tape. It was called Grado Zero or something like that. The group was called Grado Zero. And he asked me to play the tape in my system. So I've heard the group, I've heard the music, and I say this is a very good. This sounds very good. And then and the guy told me that we could give them a go into my place. We can try to play Wednesday night. And I said, that's the thing, we stay there. And then the next day, the group, all of them, Mark, Corey, Michael, and Lawrence came to see me on their own, and they say that they wanted to be played by, without any intermediate. And I said, that's what happened. Say they wanted from me 1 month to prepare all the songs, all the covers and everything. And after 1 month, they came to Sax. The first time, just from the first time they played, it was very successful. Successful night. I remember. The place was packed. People was there. I think we could not fit any more people, so we have to let people wait outside as well. And that was the first night they played there. So I mean, it was very since the beginning. I say we got the lottery. The most successful night was on Fridays. Anyway, the Fridays I remember. I used to get very nervous on Fridays because I knew that was going to be amazing, like people outside waiting to get in. And problems as well to fit all these people in. It was very difficult. So I remember I stood on the door most of the time. I could not enjoy the group very well because that's what I used to like them to listen, but sometimes I have to pick up on my job and stay at the door to control a little bit of the capacity of people. Sometimes you used to have the visit of the fire brigades as well because of this, no? And it was very difficult. But at the same time, if I had to respect the measures of the fire brigade to say one person for 1 square meter, I mean, it was nothing. So we have to take the risks and fill up the place as much as we can. But not for business, just to feel that people could feel the crowd, no, of the songs they used to play. Especially the first night they played, and in a certain moment, all the fans used to call and dancing, but at the same time was like pushing them each other. There was the type of dance for that song. And I was outside, I was keeping a crowd, and I say, oh bloody hell, seems like they're fighting on the stage. And I was quite worried about it. And when I went in there, I said, no, don't worry. This is the type of song. Yeah, but please, don't push. And I remember also the first day, I used to have all these posts in Sax used to be different than what it used to be the last years. And used to have lots of posts, like wooden posts. And I remember one of them, the first night, it was being like smashed away, and because of this kind of dancing they used to play with song. They left me a poster like to be sticked on the window, and I remember that thing, and we just put the date on, and I know I think the date used to say the 29th of May or something. I can't remember, but that was such a very good picture, which was very. I used to watch the picture and say, this group is gonna give us very good moments, and that's what happened. And every time they play into my premises in Sax 2, they never make. They've always been there, except the last day, which was everybody remembers. What I live with this group is something which was kind of family for me. I mean, Lawrence, Michael, Mark and Corey, for me they've been like brothers, not just part of a business of a place. I mean, it's been like, and which I felt the music with them. I always keep in touch with them all the time. I mean, like, they come to see me, I see them, we talk each other. And that was 25 years ago, and still the things going on, no? I mean, I really love them. And of course, missing Michael a lot.
Anthony Ladislaus, a teenage fan at the time who enjoyed Glow performances, which influenced him to pick up a guitar.
Glow, well, I suppose our first encounter, well, my first encounter with Glow has to be around, we must have been about 16, 17, you know, we'd just done GCSEs, and we were let out of our leash, allowed to go out a little bit more on a Friday night, Saturday night, and that's Gibraltar at the time, and I think casemates must have just about opened, or not quite opened yet. We saw huge queues outside Saks every Friday night, so I was wondering, well, we've got to get in there somehow. It was probably the most rock and roll atmosphere in Gibraltar, dare I say, even now, because the band had a stage presence, each and every one of them. Yes. Lawrence was the pretty boy at the front man, who was capturing girls' attention. Mark and Corey were a solid rhythm section. They kept the beat together, and then there was Michael. Michael was, well, probably one of the best guitarists I've ever seen live. Together, if you put the four of them together, there was a chemistry between them. They were able to captivate an audience and create an atmosphere between them, and that atmosphere was electric. They made time for their audience. They stopped to chat. I remember being a wannabe guitarist, even now, talking to Michael about his sheer enthusiasm about playing guitar. He loved every bit of that instrument, every bit of music, and he loved watching people's reactions to him playing guitar, and it was infectious. If you were going to say the impact Glow had, if I look at my phone now, under the section G, I've got Green Day, Guns N' Roses, and Glow. It was probably one of the best times of my life. Well, I would say audience as opposed to crowd, because people did go to watch Glow. So I think it was a concert. It's incredible. I'm sitting here today, and the people I've never really chatted to, but we've all got that one thing in common, which is our enjoyment of the band of Glow.
To be honest, apart from playing sax, we also did the parallel live, played in Spain, Granada, Madrid, all over the place.
Yeah, the 40 Principales, no?
The 40 Principales, we played Granada, we played Algeciras, in a Super Uno, which we toured. And to be honest, we did a parallel live. We played sax, earned money, so then go to Spain and pay for our expenses, travel expenses. That was the only way we could do it then.
Tax finance our trips over to Spain.
Yeah, so that was our main aim. Sax, at the beginning, we always loved playing there. But it came to the point that we were earning money there to pay away and try and make it in Spain, which we were very, very close to doing it.
And then from there, nothing. We went to Belgium as well. We played in Belgium.
Tyrone Gomez has always been a long-time friend of Glow, and has always been there from day one.
When Glow hit the music scene was the summer of '97, when Glow formed up and they got to play there in Saks. They brought in more of a raw rock sound to the scene. At the time, that sort of music wasn't heard much. The musicians in itself were extremely talented, no? The likes of the late Michael Danino, which brought that sharpness, no? That element of perfection in a way, no? To guitar playing, very melodic, and obviously at the musical level he was extremely talented, no? I would say one of the best, the best guitar player in Gibraltar. And he brought that maturity that Glow needed, no? Like a friend of mine, obviously a lifelong friend, Mark Brooks, drummer, Corey Alman also. known him for many years, no? And they've been in the scene for quite a long time. They've tried it out, especially with No Man's Land, no? And I recall them playing in a variety show in Market Hall some years back. And they played there. They had great songs also, sort of more adult-orientated rock, no? And I recall in one of the intervals this chap just sitting down, playing a song in a piano. I think it was Candle in the Wind. And that was the first time I came across Lawrence Imossi, no? I've never met him in my life. And so that was a rock band, and there was this guy performing a classical piece, no, in piano. His voice was incredible, no? He didn't have the looks of the typical rock star, no? But the voice was really good. And I mean, it seemed like it was on the cards, no? Like years ago, before Glow formed, they met without knowing that, say 5 years from then, they were going to be probably the best band in Gibraltar and at the time. No? Mark, obviously the drummer, Corey the bass, and I think Lawrence was the final piece of the puzzle, no? That fitted perfectly, you know, with the band. He had the typical good-looking, boyish image, no? Obviously that attracts a lot of females, no? It goes without saying that probably the best rock bands in the world have got the best good-looking frontman, no? Like the frontman plays an important part in a rock band. And that was it. I think the pieces of the puzzle gelled perfectly and Glow was formed. No? There was a fusion of many elements of rock that they gelled perfectly and they developed what is Glow. And anyone that went at the time at Sax was very much aware of. And people began to even like more their songs than the cover versions that they used to play on the night. I still recall the first night. I recall going there. Paolo was quite nervous because it was the first night that they were going to play there. It was a Friday. And he kept saying, "Are these people good?" And I kept saying, "They're the best." They rehearsed just opposite Sax 2. Sax 2 is where obviously the music scene was getting orientated in at the time. And I recall them starting to play, people starting to queue up, and the queue went all the way to the petrol station, which is at the beginning of Line 1 Road, the Shell petrol station. And we couldn't believe it, no? I think people were hungry for something different, for a new place to not socialize, but to be entertained, no? And they were the best entertainers. And they developed a sort of a reputation that stuck with them for years to come, no? And it was sold out every night. Student nights came along on Thursday nights, it was sold out. Saturday nights, people would queue for hours to get in. Obviously, being a band long friend, I had the VIP card to go in, and so did others. So we just turned up with the band. So we felt like rock stars, no? Just like they did, no?
A lot of things that a lot of people don't know, that the story that once we played in Algeciras, we supported El Canto del Loco. At the time they were #1 in Spain, they were playing all over the place. And we got acquainted with Danny Martin, the singer. And we passed in the demos at the time. There were cassettes, or maybe the beginning of CDs, I can't actually remember. And a couple of days later, we got a phone call. They phoned my house actually. There was no mobiles in those days, no internet. And
Michael had a mobile.
Well, I think he was the only one in Gibraltar that had a mobile. Yeah. And at the time they called us to Madrid. We stayed there a couple of days. We showcased it in the Chesterfield, which was the venue, top venue in Madrid, to showcase new band, and everything went all right. They told us they were happy with the material, to come back in September to actually sign the deal. And fortunately, Michael wasn't with us anymore.
Passed away.
He passed away, I think,
at the beginning of August.
beginning of August. So that story ended
Tragedy.
at that tragedy.
Yeah, I remember Danny was driving us around Madrid in his car, the singer.
Yeah.
And he was like #1 at the time, so we were driving around, and when we'd stop at traffic lights, like that, people would recognise him, girls and that, shouting. And
Big restaurant.
he had a Volkswagen Golf, silver Volkswagen Golf.
Yeah, waiting at the restaurant, this girl came in, remember? And they stopped by. Danny Martin, right? He thought it was us, but it wasn't us. It wasn't for us.
Fabian Santos is another long-time friend of Glow, who used to hang out with the band and occasionally used to help out transporting the band's gear.
They were going to bring in a vocalist that he had won the talent show, I believe. It was Gibraltar talent show, Imossi. And they started putting a couple of songs together. I met Michael Danino, who was an influence for me playing the guitar. He taught me basically the beginning of how to start to play. First time I went to his rehearsal room, I listened to it as opposite sax. From the beginning, that was the beginning of Glow. And as they grew as a group, seeing them getting since the day one really, packing sax. Started doing, it was on a Friday, but then it kicked in as they were very, very, very busy. They started doing Wednesdays also. And it was the student night Wednesdays, and it was Wednesdays and Fridays. And they did that for quite, I think it was for the whole summer.
Ian Peacock is a lifetime friend and was Glow's road manager at the time. He has always been there to support the band, and currently he works as road crew for Metro Motel.
Friday night, in those days, down at Sax 2, the long queue. I remember really, really long queues waiting to see Glow. When I first saw Glow, I said, yes, the singer, Lawrence, I said, they have sort of that talent that you rarely find nowadays. And in those days, they were really, really rare to find talent like that, especially with Michael Danino, the guitarist, Corey on the bass, Mark. They were bringing that type of energy to the crowd. The crowd responded, we go there to Sax and see Glow. But most of the time it used to get so packed that a lot of people couldn't get in. You have to wait hours sometimes to get in. We used to stay in the queue, even in rain. To see the band, it was quite amazing. I remember you used to look and you only see heads just bobbing around. It was so surreal. The feeling that they used to give out was sort of really good vibes, towards the people, image of the band and unity that they used to have as friends, as band members, as entertainers. They actually delivered that in so many ways that it was unbelievable, the vibes that they gave to the actual crowd and the way they treated the crowd. That's the way I see entertainment should be. They were bringing the atmosphere, they were living it as well, as they were bringing it to the public.
Well, I think it was at the beginning of January of last year where I said we should have our own Musician of the Year award, but really we thought if we're going to have our own Musician of the Year award, we should call it after Michael Danino, purely because if you talk to many musicians in the scene today, they'll probably say they were very inspired by Michael in every sense of the word. He always always willing to listen and always willing to give his advice as to where they could actually get better or anything else. So once that was set in motion, and I remember late September, I spoke to the guys, and the guys, Mark and Corey, were very receptive towards the idea. They knew that it was going to be named after Michael, but I even spoke to Megan, and I just even told them, look, we'd love for you to come down and just say a few words about Michael. That was really the initial idea. And I told Corey about it, and Corey obviously was going to be quite receptive towards the idea, so was Mark. And once I told them, they're like, well, I'd love for you guys to perform. It would be a dream come true, at least for me, to see you guys perform, because seeing as I never did. But it was always at the back of my mind that maybe it would have been impossible. Then I spoke to Lawrence shortly after that, and I just told Lawrence, look, this is what we're going to do. And Lord and behold, he said, look, it wouldn't maybe hurt to do a few tracks, and the lads got the ball rolling. And obviously once the night came, it was like I was a wall of nerves really, because obviously it's a weekday, you don't know what's going to happen. But we had huge response, from people who had seen Glow perform in their sax days. And obviously they only performed 3 songs, but at the same time, those 3 songs were pivotal to Glow's success, in the sense where after people wanted more, and less is more, they say. So I was left very satisfied after the night was over, really, because really it was one of those things on my bucket list, on my personal bucket list, that I actually got fulfilled. So we couldn't really be more. I couldn't be more grateful to the guys, really, like, for the friendship that we have. You know, we work together quite often. You know, we actually share our content and promote their content as much as we possibly can with our other projects and even with the current stuff that they're doing now. So I'm very touched and obviously to be like a part of this, and I thank the guys from the bottom of my heart. So thanks, guys.
Loads of tracks that we have now, and they say, why didn't we release them back then in the EP? Because like songs, I don't know if you remember WR.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Mega song. No? We heard it the other day. You go, wow, why didn't we bloody record this properly back in the day and release this?
The EP, I think maybe, and even at the time we did the EP of Glow, we didn't probably, those were still probably in the making, no? Like WR and that, we were also working at the same time. And I think the ones on the EP were the ones that were really ready and finished. But
in the EP, we only had like band that had existed with the four of us for at least 3 months or 4 months, I think it was, you know? And then we released the EP.
It's funny because when I started growing up in Gibraltar in the music scene, and you used to have bands like Hot and Ash, and they used to be, although they were local, they were not famous, they used to be my musical idols. And we, through the sax years, we became idols of a younger generation that now you see them in bands, etc., etc. So it's a vicious circle. It was funny. Like, you get people coming up to you, thanks to Glow, I started playing the guitar. Thanks to Glow, it helped me with my relationship with my ex that left me that night. We've got loads and loads of mega stories like that. So
it's word of mouth. It's not like now you got the social media. You can get around with people. Knowing before you used to go with a demo and give to people and they used to hear a song, whatever. And it was word of mouth, and it was more interesting.
Yeah, that's
the mystery factor there. You have to go and see the band live. It wasn't like you could put a video up or put the songs and people could listen to that.
Because with sax and that, we played there so long. And I think it's a shame maybe, in hindsight now, that we didn't push more of our own material, because in a way it's very hard in Jib, because the people don't want new material, they want to hear covers, and I understand that, because if you don't know the song, you find it hard to sort of, you know, get into it and sing along. But it's a shame, because in other parts of the world I think it's much more, or much easier to promote maybe new music, and there are places where you're dedicated to that. I think now with Rock and the Rock Club, that's the sort of place where bands can do that too. But I think generally in Jib, especially at the time with sax and where there was nothing else, people wanted to hear songs that they heard on the radio, so we had to do a lot of that. And we used to only put in a couple. I think Crazy was one song that we got to do like nearly every week, and it became then known, and people sang along to it. And very often people would say, "But that song, who's that by?" And we'd say it was ours. Really? Well, that's because they got to hear it so often, and we managed, because we slipped it in, but that it was an upbeat song that people like to jump around to. So
I understand. Cool. We spent playing sax like 5 years. We were the house band, if you want to call it that. We used to play Wednesdays, Saturday nights, Fridays, and we used to cover for Jade on Saturdays sometimes where they couldn't play. So it was like 3 times a week for 5 years. So you can imagine the following we had. Yeah. It was packed like every time we played.
Yeah. It could get monotonous sometimes, but
for the band it was. At the end, it was like a job basically. Get the cash so we can move around in Spain basically. At the beginning it was fun, then it tends to, like a job, like I said before. And it gets to a point you go because you have to go, you have to play, and you get your money out of it, and that's it. But I think we spent too much time basically in that location. We should have moved around a bit more.
But there was nowhere to go.
Yeah, those days. It was that or the Cool Blues.
There was no casemates, there was no Ocean Village, there was nowhere else. There was no Chatham Counter Guard place, there's nothing. So we only had that, and then from there everybody went to Cool Blues, and Cool Blues never hosted live bands. It was always disco.
I remember at one point they approached us and they were going to pay us more than they paid. They always paid big sax. We never went to Cool Blues.
It would have been much later as well. I mean, we used to start at 12:30 at night usually, and play till.
Then it got to 1:30.
1 o'clock sometimes, and we played from 1 till 3, so it was really late. And sometimes it got to stages as well where we all had jobs, we were working. Sometimes I'd fall asleep at home, and Corey would call me at 12:30 and say, "Where are you?" And I'd be like, wake up and think, "Oh God, we've got to get down." So I get down there and we start singing. So sometimes it was harder than others, but it was fun. It was good for what it was.
So it lasted, it was. I think apart from that, we learned our chops there at the second as well. For every gig we did, it can't be like for 20 rehearsals. I mean, you have to be spot on, you have to do the songs properly, you're going to make mistakes, so that's the way that the band worked. Once we got ready, we went over to Spain and we were more than ready to like, we used to call it Conquer Spain with our music.
The problem is I find that with sax we got very comfortable as well, so it wasn't, it became, and I would have thought that maybe it would build your confidence, and it did to a level, but it was so comfortable in sax and we were so known by everybody there that playing elsewhere, like if we went to Spain, I would get really nervous. I get quite nervous when I perform live, and but sax became so easy, you know, like the same people, the same songs, the same, you know, so the same setup.
We knew all the waiters, we knew all the waiters, we knew all the bouncers, we knew all the management guys on the sax. I mean, it was like a family basically. 5 years you spent there, like Brian said, you got comfortable, and it becomes your home. We used to rehearse there as well. It was a rehearsal room.
Yeah,
when we rehearsed.
Yeah.
You used to rehearse maybe in new songs that was in the charts on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and then perform it on the Friday.
On the Friday.
Yeah.
Well, we're up to date with that. With Cowards, we were really up to date. Like Corey said, it was 1 week it was on the chart, next week we were playing it live.
And it got to a point that a lot of people thought the covers were actually our songs. So
we gave it that twist.
Yeah, we gave them a twist. So
like Michael used to improvise. I mean, we used to rehearse it one way, and when we got to play it live, he used to play it the way he wants. Always on key, always the right notes, but I mean, he used to improvise a lot.
We don't know what's going to happen in the future.
We had to get this out of the system. Basically.
See.
Once we had the tape, we had the songs, we had to get out of the system. So that's why we decided to do this, basically. For the future, we don't know. Let's see what happens. Basically, we're not thinking about the future. It's the now that's important. So let's see what happens.
And like I say, as long as we have air in our lungs, anything and everything's possible. With original band members or not, that's another story. But it's like I say, a footballer is never bigger than the team. So I think it comes to it, no one is bigger than Glow. So sometimes the songs are the most important thing to get out there.